Fuck Jake Paul. Fuck Jake Paul. Hey, New York, shut the fuck up, New York. Hey, boo yourselves. Boo yourselves, New York. Hey, New York, New York, New York, you're just like Mike Tyson. You were good 20 years ago. Fuck you, New York. Fuck you. Dumbass Democratic City.
Jake Paul stepped into his new press conference with Mike Tyson on August 18th, only to be met with a wave of pure hatred from thousands of people. He probably thought he'd get some respect after his win against Perry, but nope, not a single soul in that crowd was on his side. Instead, he was roasted, mocked, and humiliated like never before. Thousands of people, and not one person could muster up the courage to give him a clap. And honestly, can you blame them? I mean, Jake even had the nerve to poke fun at Tyson's ulcer problems right there in front of everyone. There's hyping a fight, and then there's whatever Jake was trying to do. Let's call it crossing the line into Disrespectville. If I were in that crowd, I'd be the first to toss a tomato, and I bet you'd be right there with me. So, if you've been living under a rock and missed the drama, let me break it down for you. The latest press conference for the highly anticipated Jake Paul versus Mike Tyson fight wasn't just another stop on the promotional tour. It was an absolute disaster for Jake Paul. Held at the Jacob Javits Center in New York City during Fanatics Fest, this event was supposed to be a standard hype machine. Media questions, face-offs, a few verbal jabs. You know, the usual. But oh boy, did it go off the rails, and Jake Paul found himself right in the middle of a nightmare he never saw coming. Now, press conferences are usually where fighters get to strut their stuff, show off their confidence, maybe throw a bit of shade, and get everyone pumped up for the big fight. For someone like Jake Paul, who practically lives for controversy and thrives under the media spotlight, this should have been his playground. His moment to bask in the attention and prove he's more than just a YouTuber. The cameras were rolling. The media was ready to pounce on every word. And fans were either there in person or glued to their screens, expecting the usual Jake Paul spectacle. But what was supposed to be his time to shine turned into a colossal mess that nobody saw coming.
Keep going. Keep going. Keep going. Keep going. It's cute.
As soon as Jake Paul hit the stage, you could feel the energy in the room shift. Usually, these events are a mix of cheers and boos, with the crowd hyped up and ready to go. But this time, crickets. The whole place was eerily quiet, with just a few murmurs breaking the silence. Then, out of nowhere, the crowd exploded. Not in cheers, but in jeers. "YouTuber!" they chanted over and over, drowning out anything Jake tried to say. It was like the entire audience had decided in unison that they were done with Jake's act. To them, he was still just a guy from the internet, not someone who deserved to stand toe-to-toe with a legend like Mike Tyson. If you've been paying attention to Jake Paul's antics, you might remember a little something from his previous press conference in June. That's right, the infamous chant,
"Fuck Jake Paul. Fuck Jake Paul."
It wasn't just a few disgruntled voices, it was the entire Jacob Javits Center, growing louder and more relentless with every passing second. The crowd wasn't just unimpressed, they were furious. And Jake stood there, soaking in the hostility like it was just another day in the life of Jake Paul. No reaction, no sign of being fazed. Later, with an arrogance that only Jake could muster, he addressed the chants by comparing himself to Muhammad Ali, saying, "Reminder, the most hated and most criticized boxer in the sport of boxing before they loved them was Muhammad Ali. So I'm the anti-hero, and people will love me soon."
The most hated and most criticized boxer in the sport of boxing before they loved him was Muhammad Ali. So I'm the anti-hero, and people will love me soon enough once.
I mean, really? Comparing himself to Muhammad Ali? That's not just bold. It's downright delusional. Ali was a legend. A man who didn't just redefine boxing, he redefined what it meant to be a public figure. And let's not forget, Ali was the king of confidence, but he balanced it with respect. He didn't need to tear down his opponents to prove his superiority. Even after knocking them out, Ali would help them off the mat. A true sportsman. Jake, on the other hand, seems to have missed that memo entirely. Jake won by TKO, a victory that should have been his golden ticket to respect in the boxing world. But instead of showing even a shred of sportsmanship, Jake did what Jake does best. He mocked his opponent. As Perry lay on the mat, defeated and vulnerable, did Jake offer a hand to help him up? Did he show any respect? Nope. He took to social media, posting pictures and videos that ridiculed Perry's defeat. This is why Jake's comparisons to legends like Muhammad Ali or even Mike Tyson fall flat. Ali and Tyson, despite their fierce personas, understood the importance of respect. Ali's famous quote, "Float like a butterfly, sting like a bee," was about his approach to life. He knew when to be fierce in the ring and when to be gracious outside of it. Tyson, for all his ferocity, also knew the value of respecting his opponents. After losing to Buster Douglas, Tyson didn't lash out or mock Douglas. He acknowledged the victory and accepted his defeat with dignity. Jake, on the other hand, seems to be in a league of his own. His victory over Perry wasn't enough. He had to twist the knife to make sure everyone knew Perry wasn't just beaten, he was humiliated. Sure, this might get headlines, but it doesn't earn respect. It breeds contempt, and that contempt was on full display at the press conference. The crowd's hostility wasn't just about Jake's boxing skills. It was about his character, or more accurately, his lack of it. But don't think for a second that Jake Paul is the kind of guy who crumbles just because he's getting a little heat. Nah, he's not like the rest of us who might retreat to a corner and have a good cry when things get tough. Instead, in the middle of all this chaos, Jake decided to double down and show just how little he cared about the critics. And he didn't stop at the fans, he set his sights on Mike Tyson himself, making a jab so low, it's surprising the floor didn't open up and swallow him right there. So here's Jake, looking out at a sea of angry faces, and what does he do? He turns to Tyson, a man who's clearly struggling with his health, and drops a bombshell of a comment.
I'm here to make $40 million and knock out a legend. I don't give a fuck about anything else, and he's the one that wanted it to be a pro fight, so he's gonna get his ass knocked out for real, on a real record. You're gonna see on BoxRec, Jake Paul versus Mike Tyson.
That wasn't just trash talk. That was a direct shot at a man who, despite everything, still commands a level of respect in the sport that Jake can only dream of. Tyson, who has faced more battles in and out of the ring than Jake could ever imagine, didn't deserve this kind of disrespect. But Jake, in his infinite wisdom, decided to reduce this legendary bout to nothing more than a payday. And that's when the crowd really lost it. When Jake Paul realized that the crowd wasn't exactly throwing roses at his feet, his frustration hit a boiling point that was both shocking and, let's be honest, a little sad to watch. Instead of trying to win them over with a bit of charm or at least deflect the hostility with some humor, Jake went straight for the nuclear option. He launched into a full-on verbal assault, not just on the people in the room, but on the entire city of New York.
Hey, New York, shut the fuck up, New York. Hey, boo yourselves. Boo yourselves, New York. Hey, New York, New York, New York, you're just like Mike Tyson. You were good 20 years ago. Fuck you, New York. Fuck you. Dumbass Democratic City.
Now, this wasn't just some harmless bit of trash talk. This was Jake Paul completely losing it. But the real low point? That came when Jake Paul decided to take a cheap shot at Mike Tyson's health. Tyson, who has been open about his recent health struggles, became the target of Jake's cruel and unnecessary taunts.
If people think I'm gonna get knocked out by this strong, powerful guy, all the people in my comments saying, look at his power, he's gonna get KO'd, people yelling at me in the event, but what happens when I put this man to sleep? This shit is not a joke. He's saying that it's gonna be my funeral. He's saying it's gonna be my wake. He's gonna kill Jake Paul, all of these things. Until November 15th, I'm knocking this motherfucker out, and we're gonna see who's dead. We will see who's dead. We will see who's dead, Mike.
I mean, seriously? Is this where we're at now? In the world of boxing, where respect is a cornerstone of the sport, mocking someone for their health issues is about as low as it gets. When someone's going through a tough time, the bare minimum expectation is to show a little empathy, or at the very least, keep your mouth shut. But Jake, in his never-ending quest to appear tough, bulldozed right through that line of decency. He didn't just cross it, he obliterated it, leaving even his harshest critics speechless. So do you really think the crowd was out of line for giving this guy a hard time? Honestly, I don't blame them one bit. I mean, sure, the abuse might seem harsh, but let's face it, Jake Paul pretty much asked for it. He deserves every bit of it, no question. But hey, if I missed anything or if you've seen the whole press conference yourself, feel free to drop your thoughts below. I'm all ears.